Criminal defense attorney Rene Sandler. Rene, I want to ask you, let's get right into it. When it comes to cases like this, as a criminal defense attorney, when I defend aggravated assault cases, it ultimately comes down to two people's side of the story. What side is more credible? When looking at photos like this, what do you look for right away to determine who was the aggressor and who was acting in defense?
First of all, thanks for having me on the show. Facts, details, subtleties of facts are so critical in a case like this, where you have a live victim, somebody that a defense attorney will cross-examine about the event. You cannot ignore any fact, big or small. So you're analyzing the very detail of every wound, every fact, every statement, every medical record.
Now, you mentioned medical records, Rene. When you look at these photographs, they're certainly compelling. But what other documentation is absolutely critical to review, besides just photographs of injuries, in figuring out what happened?
Well, certainly in a medical record, you're looking at notes, you're looking at observations from anybody who saw the victim, Christy Martin in this case. You're looking at every version of the event that Ms. Martin set forward. You are looking at details. You are analyzing and scrutinizing those different statements, those different versions of events. But you are looking at the wounds very carefully, both Jim Martin's wounds and Christy Martin's wounds. And you're trying very desperately to reconcile the two sets of injuries.
As you look at these photographs, what wounds to you specifically jump out as showing one person to be maybe the aggressor and another person being in defense?
What is very interesting to me, and as a defense attorney I see many times, are you need to scrutinize any type of wounds that can be characterized as defensive. For example, the specific injuries on Jim Martin's fingers, his hands, anything that can support defensive as opposed to a slashing type of injury. I'm also interested in looking at the injuries to Jim Martin's back. It can support a fight where he is actually trying to protect himself. So scrutinizing Jim Martin's injuries against the injuries of Christy Martin and trying to reconcile the differences there to establish who was the initial aggressor, who was defensive, who was not. Very critical to this case.
You mentioned a slashing wound, Rene. What other kinds of knife wounds? I mean, to many people, they don't think a lot about what kinds of wounds a knife can create. What kinds of knife wounds besides slashing would you look for, and what would they tell you?
Knife wounds, and using a knife wound expert or a forensic pathologist to help analyze the characteristics, the uniqueness of the different entry points of a knife. You can see, again, defensive wounds, somebody who is trying to protect themselves. Slashing, taking a sharp blade and with intent, with emotion, trying to input that into another's body. Puncture wounds. Again, the characteristics of these wounds, very important to determine aggression, defensive, slashing, very important to this case.
As a defense attorney, Rene, what chance do you have of, as a defense attorney, I look at these photographs and you want to try and keep out as many as you possibly can of Christy Martin. What photographs are you going to try and exclude, or do you have any chance of excluding these photographs? Are they all going to come in?
Well, I think one strategy in any criminal defense case, you absolutely have to have a strategy. You must have a theme, and every fact that you present or cross-examine must support that theme. In this case, attacking the lack of premeditation, attacking the lack of intent. You wouldn't want to keep out any pictures unless they're cumulative. You would take those pictures and use them as your own to support your claim that Jim Martin was attacked.
Now, Gene Casares, we heard the emergency room doctor just before testifying, and now we're looking at the photographs. How effective was that ER doctor in bolstering the effect of these photographs on the jury?
I think he was effective. I think he also helped the defense, though, because he said that Christy was very coherent. She even told him the name of her family doctor, and how coherent she is at that point is critical, because that's when law enforcement came in and questioned her. One thing he testified to was the bullet, and they didn't know where the bullet was inside of her. They found it was outside the lung, in the tissues. I think the trajectory of that bullet is going to be very important. How far away from Christy was that bullet shot into her? Because the defense may want to try to show that in the struggle, the gun was turned toward her inadvertently and she shot herself. Distance is going to play a role in that, and trajectory of the bullet is going to play a role in that.
Yeah, Rene, we just heard testimony from a sheriff's deputy who came and interviewed Christy Martin while she was in the hospital. You know, I have a lot of sympathy for officers here. They have to go do their investigation, but how often do those statements at the hospital provide inconsistent statements to be used later on? Because these people are, after all, in a lot of pain.
Sure, very, very critical. Great point. Those statements, though, particularly in this case where non-life-threatening injuries, the doctor testified to, she could have survived them. Her mental state, her ability to answer questions calmly, and is very critical to analyze. And let me make this point. The gun, she was able to detail. First of all, she did not know she was shot, which I think is amazing. But particularly at a close range where she claims that she was shot from by her husband. 9mm gun supposedly in her husband's left pocket. She is shot somewhat superficially on her right side. Very, very incredible, if you ask me.
All right. Criminal defense attorney Rene Sandler and Jean Casares, InSession correspondent, thank you for joining me. I am now about to talk to HLN's Jane